Hello everyone, Mike Rempel from Excel Bytes with today's Excel Bytes blog post. Today we're going to take a look at an old favorite and a tool that everyone should have in their Excel toolbox, and that's the trim function. It's all about getting rid of unwanted spaces and how those spaces can cause problems in your formulas. So let's see how we can use the trim function in Excel. So here's our scenario. I have some dates here, a description of a product, and the inventory. And I have a little reference table here that has the location and the model number, and I want to pull that location and model number data into my section over here in columns D and E. So normally you would use a typical VLOOKUP function. So I'm going to go ahead and create one. I'm going to say equals VLOOKUP. My lookup value is going to be here, but I want to lock the column because I'm going to just copy it over. So I'm going to hit the F4 key 3 times, comma. My table array is here, and I'm going to hit F4 to lock that. Again, comma. My column index, I'm actually going to use the column function and say column B1. That'll give me a 2. And then when I copy it over, it'll change it to column 3. And I'm going to use an exact match, which is 0. Close my parentheses, hit enter, and stock molding New Orleans. Stock molding New Orleans looks perfect. I copy it over here, and BP234, BP234. Everything looks great. So now I copy that down, and I have 5 different scenarios where I get a pound NA error. And I'm not sure why, because looking at this, stock molding here gives me New Orleans, no problem, but stock molding at the bottom, I get an error, and it looks identical to me, but there obviously is a problem. And when we look at the rows that do have an issue, and we look at the description, we can see here, for example, vertical piping has an extra space. There's 2 spaces between the words there, whereas in my lookup array, I only have 1 space. And if we look closer at several of these other ones that have an error, for example here, rotor casings, notice I have an extra space at the end. Or in top mounted flange, again, I have an extra space there. Looks like I don't have a space at the beginning. Here in stock molding, I do have a space at the beginning. So one tool that you can use to make sure you don't have these kinds of issues is to use the trim function. And what does the trim function do? Well, basically the trim function helps to get rid of spaces. So for example, if I said equals trim and I reference that little sentence there, notice it got rid of the spaces in the front. It got rid of the multiple spaces in between the various words. And if we look at the trim function, it says removes all spaces from a text string except for a single space between the words. So that's what it's going to do. So it got rid of all those extra ones at the beginning and between all the words, and just left a single space between each word or each character, in this case between spaces and the exclamation point. So how we can use it in our little table here is I'm going to change this. So instead of saying look up C2, I'm going to look up trim and trim that C2. Hit enter, copy that over, copy that down, and now Excel has removed the extra spaces when it looked up whatever was in column C to make sure I got an exact match in my small reference table here and was able to produce the proper answers with location and model. And that's how you can use the trim function in Excel.
So thanks for watching this tutorial. If you found it beneficial, please share it, like it, or give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my blog at my website, excel-bytes.com, or any of the social networks you see below. Have a great day and happy excelling.